The 2nd of June 2004. Roman Abramovich hired José Mourinho to be Chelsea's manager for the new season, and he wanted Mourinho to do the impossible. He wanted Mourinho to transform Chelsea from competitors to champions, and that was exactly what Mourinho did and more. Chelsea broke the dominance of Manchester United and Arsenal in style, but Mourinho got sacked. Then, 9 years later, Mourinho was brought in to do it all over again, and he did. So, how did he make Chelsea one of the Premier League's most feared teams twice? This is the insane story of how Mourinho transformed a trophyless Chelsea into one of the most feared teams in England. When Jose Mourinho joined Chelsea in 2004, he was an attraction. He came with an energy the British media weren't used to. He was cocky and very full of himself. In his first press conference as Chelsea's coach, he said, "I think I'm a special one." That earned him the nickname, but would he live up to it? Fresh off of one of the greatest football stories in recent years, where Mourinho guided Porto to the Champions League for the second time in their history and first in 17 years, showing his potential for excellent man management and tactical solidity. He was a builder, and therefore, of course, all the big clubs were after him. But he fancied another challenge, and so he accepted the job at Chelsea, who were on the upturn after finishing 6th in 2001-2002, and then 4th and then 2nd to the Invincibles in 2003-04. They needed someone who could take them to the next level and get them over the line, something Jose would eventually become known for. Roman Abramovich believed he had found the man to make his newly acquired club a feared one around the globe. Abramovich was so obsessed with winning that Chelsea sold lots of players on a loss and splashed over £70 million on Mourinho, who had a clear vision and the players in mind to achieve this. He quickly signed Arjen Robben, Michael Essien, Didier Drogba, Ricardo Carvalho and Paulo Ferreira. With his new signings, Mourinho had a target. He had to win a major trophy for Chelsea. At first, it didn't seem like he would. Mourinho introduced a defensive and counter-attacking style to Chelsea. He set them up to not leave any space in the defence and catch his opponents on the break. The expectation was the style was unsustainable, especially with Chelsea managing to win with mostly one-goal leads. Chelsea weren't scoring much, but just weren't conceding. It wasn't exciting for the fans, but it was working, which ultimately is really all fans care about. Chelsea found themselves on top of the Premier League, maintaining a 100% record against their London rivals, Arsenal, who were fresh off their greatest season ever. They kept their heads down and continued to work. They were mostly in fine form, and they carried that into the Champions League. Porto were the only team that beat Chelsea in the group stage of the competition, clearly out for revenge for their departed manager. Chelsea went back to winning ways in the league, but that wasn't the only thing that stood out about them. Their coach kept stealing the headlines. Mourinho just couldn't stop making crazy comments, like suggesting that Ferguson's legendary status in the Premier League resulted in Man United getting favourable calls from referees. Meanwhile, the Premier League race was heating up, but Chelsea already had the opportunity to win some silverware, with the League Cup against Liverpool in the final after a Stevie G own goal and then 2 goals in extra time. One trophy down, there were 2 more to be won. First, they had to pass through Barcelona in the Champions League. Despite the odds, they beat Barca 4-2 in the return leg and then had to face Bayern Munich. It was another difficult game, and Mourinho still had a touchline ban from the first leg against Bayern. Or did he? Mourinho had an idea on how he could be present with his team for that second leg. So he got to the stadium early and gave his team a talk. Then hid in the laundry basket as Chelsea staff smuggled him out right under the noses of UEFA. What a crazy guy. Well, it worked. Chelsea beat Bayern in that first leg 4-2, and it was enough for them to win across the 2 ties. But Liverpool had other plans. They didn't forget their League Cup defeat and how Mourinho had shushed them. They played like their lives depended on it, holding Chelsea to a draw in the first leg and then beating them in the second with a controversial goal. Just like that, Chelsea were out of the Champions League in the semi-finals. Now they had to win the league. It was all or nothing. Chelsea remained focused, and that focus was very evident. Jose got the best out of Frank Lampard, who started every game that season and racked up 31 goal contributions. Drogba and Gudjohnsen were in the goals too, and needless to say, John Terry and Petr Cech were formidable at the back. They won the Premier League, their first in 50 years, and they did it by setting a couple of outstanding records on the way. They conceded just 15 goals, a record that stands until this very day, and also the highest point tally of 95, the most of any Premier League winning team before City broke it in the 17-18 season. Chelsea didn't lose a single game at home that season, and they wouldn't lose at all at home in Jose's first spell at the club. Where do you rank this in the all-time Premier League achievements? The next season, Chelsea continued from where they left off. They began the season by beating Arsenal to win the Community Shield and won the league again with 2 games to go. Abramovich and Mourinho enjoyed a great working relationship, but cracks did begin to show by the end of the 2005-06 season. The cracks widened when Abramovich insisted on signing Shevchenko, who Mourinho didn't think he needed and also felt would harm the dynamics of his squad. Mourinho and Abramovich's contempt for each other grew when Abramovich hired Avram Grant as Chelsea's sporting director, a move which really angered Mourinho because he had specifically rejected Grant's appointment. But despite all of the drama behind the scenes, Drogba was banging in goals for fun and Lampard remained influential. Unfortunately, Shevchenko wasn't having a great season and Mourinho dropped him, and this made Abramovich angry. However, they beat Arsenal to win the League Cup, so all was well. And then it wasn't. Liverpool eliminated Chelsea in the Champions League again in the semi-finals before they pulled off the historic miracle of Istanbul. Click here for more on this historic fight. Despite winning another 2 trophies, Abramovich and Mourinho by this point couldn't stand each other. So Chelsea dismissed Mourinho early in the 2007-08 season. The announcement was extremely sad for both fans and players. Drogba reportedly burst into tears when he heard, and Terry kept trying to get the club to change their mind, but it wasn't to be. Mourinho's time with Chelsea was over for now. Chelsea didn't exactly struggle after Mourinho left, but they became an unstable club where no manager was safe. After Mourinho's 2007 departure, Chelsea had a revolving door of managers. Avram Grant succeeded him, leading the team to the 2008 Champions League final, but failing to win a trophy. Luis Felipe Scolari followed, departing mid-season in 2009. Interim manager Gus Hiddink won the FA Cup that year. Carlo Ancelotti secured a league and FA Cup double in 2010, but was sacked in 2011. Andre Villas-Boas struggled, and Roberto Di Matteo replaced him, famously winning the 2012 Champions League and FA Cup. Rafael Benitez in 2013 won the Europa League, and then Jose Mourinho returned in 2013, winning a league title in 2015. Abramovich knew that if he wanted to win the Premier League again for Chelsea, there was only one man for the job. And so, once again, Chelsea went for Jose Mourinho. Mourinho himself enjoyed a pretty successful career after leaving Chelsea in 2007. He won the Serie A title for Inter in the 2008-09 season, his first season with them, and followed it with a treble in the next season. Then he went to Real Madrid and helped rejuvenate them, winning La Liga, Copa del Rey and the Spanish Super Cup across the 3 seasons he spent at the club. However, the 2012-13 season was far below Mourinho's standards, but he was ready to put that behind him as he returned to Chelsea. As you can imagine, after 10 years, Mourinho met a mostly new squad upon his return to Chelsea, but there still remained some of the core from his first spell at the club, Cech, Terry and Drogba, who were in the last years of his career. They were still important members of the squad and in the dressing room. Mourinho also brought back Michael Essien, who he got on loan when he was at Madrid. Jose then also met new important players like Ramirez, Oscar, and of course Eden Hazard. Jose Mourinho guided Chelsea to the Premier League title in the 2014-15 season with a masterclass in tactical management, squad building, and consistency. In his second stint at the club, Mourinho focused on addressing the weaknesses of the previous campaign and creating a balanced, cohesive team capable of challenging on all fronts. The key to Chelsea's success was their summer recruitment. The arrival of Cesc Fabregas added creativity and vision in midfield, as the Spaniard registered an impressive 18 assists over the season. Up front, Diego Costa brought a clinical edge, scoring 20 goals and tormenting defenders with his physicality and movement. Eden Hazard also had a stellar season, with 14 goals and 9 assists, not to mention he was a joy to watch and earned the Premier League Player of the Season. Hazard's ability to unlock defences complemented the solidity provided by Nemanja Matic in midfield, who offered excellent protection to the defence. Cole Palmer is the current Chelsea equivalent. Click here for our video on Palmer and Chelsea this season and subscribe if you enjoy. Oscar was also in fine form with 6 goals and 8 assists, and the Brazilian was key to the success of the squad. Although they couldn't replicate their amazing record of 15 goals conceded, the signing of goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois strengthened Chelsea's defensive foundation, and the experienced John Terry and Branislav Ivanovic, who was nothing short of amazing at right back that season. These two not only achieved 14 goal contributions that season, but were integral to a back line that conceded a still very impressive 32 goals in 38 matches, keeping 17 clean sheets. Mourinho's tactics were a blend of defensive organisation and attacking efficiency. Chelsea dominated possession when required, but were equally adept at counter-attacking with devastating effect. The club made a blistering start to the season, winning 8 of their first 10 league games, including emphatic victories over Everton and Swansea. They led the league table from the opening weekend and remained unbeaten in their first 23 matches. Mourinho's meticulous preparation and ability to adapt tactically meant Chelsea rarely faltered. Pragmatism became a hallmark in the latter stages of the campaign, as Chelsea ground out results, including their famous narrow 1-0 wins to maintain their lead at the top. The title was secured with 3 games to spare, following a 1-0 win over Crystal Palace in May 2015 and finishing 8 points ahead of the up-and-coming Manchester City. Mourinho's ability to instill a winning mentality and balance flair with resilience ensured Chelsea's dominance, earning him his 3rd Premier League title and his first at Chelsea in 10 years. The Mourinho the fans remembered had returned. Chelsea was so good that season that they only lost 3 times and only once at home. Chelsea won the league and the League Cup that season. Chelsea and Mourinho were back.